What is up, guys? So today I'm going to be teaching you how to turn this into this. So first we're going to start off with the Warp9 Fastace triple clamp. So first we have the axle, the wheel spacers, the 1-inch drop triple clamp, along with the bearings, and then you have your offset mounting for your brake calipers. You have Loctite. You also have your stem right here. And then we have the Fastace Gravity and included bump stops from Warp9. Step 1 is removing any of the zip ties that might get in our way. Just take some snips to them and then remove your front number plate. Step 2 is going to be removing your front fender. Just take it off using a number 4 Allen. The next step is going to be removing your front wheel and brake caliper. Start by taking a number 5 Allen and breaking the bolts loose enough for you to get that axle out. Before you loosen the hex side of your front axle, just take your T50 and break the bolt loose, and then it should just come right off. And then next you will loosen the other side of the pinch bolts, and then you will take this out a little bit and smack it. That way you have the front axle moving slightly in the outward direction. Keep doing that until you're able to get a grip on the axle and pull it out. Since we're not going to be reusing this axle, you can take the blunt end of your Torx 50 and push out the other end of the axle. After which you can just take the front axle out, set it somewhere safe, take the front wheel off, and then we can start on the brake caliper. So for the brake caliper, we're going to be taking a number 5 Allen, loosening it slightly from both sides, then taking the bottom all the way out, and then setting that to the side. After which we can start on the front. We don't want to let the caliper drop, so we're going to use 2 hands for this. Same thing as before, set everything to the side and put this up top. We can now loosen the brake line guide using a number 3 Allen. Should unclamp it slightly. After you loosen the brake line guide, you can take it all the way off. While you're taking the brake line guide off, just remember that there's a nut in the back. Keep that and set it to the side. So after you undo the brake line cable guide, we are going to be undoing the stanchions. These are the locations for the bolts. We're going to take a number 5 to them and just undo them fully, but start with the bottom, then move to the top. And once you reach the top, that is going to require 2 hands. So after you've loosened both the top and the bottom bolts, there's a bump stop right here, and that's gonna stop it from going all the way down. So you're just gonna twist her down and then remove the bump stop. Next, we're going to be removing the handlebars. So just remove the actual handlebar mounting system rather than the handlebars themselves, so that way you can work with it all at one time. It's going to be a 5mm hex. So after you removed your handlebars, take a T45 and a 3/8 inch drive if you have a stem lock, and just undo the stem lock. So after you've removed your stem lock, just take the shims off, undo the hex keys on the top. After you undo the hex key on the top, you should just be able to slide off your stem, and your bearing is in there, right there. All right, so after we have the triple clamp and the stem removed, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some grease and we're gonna grease the bearing that came with the Warp9 Fastace bundle for the triple clamp. Just work it in a rotating motion. Try your best to keep everything out of the bearing besides the grease. So after we have packed the grease into the stem, what's gonna happen next is we're gonna pack the grease into the other bearing. So you're gonna sit there and you're gonna work it from one corner of your palm, essentially just scraping what there is at the beginning all around the bearing. One quick little pro tip for cleanup is you want to ball everything up in the palm of your hand and then pull the glove backwards. Semi-mess-free cleanup. So after you get done packing the bearings, just take the grease and work it around the raceway, top and bottom, just to make sure that you have ample grease, and make sure to clean up the top after you're done, but let's do it both ways. So after you grease it, just install the top bearing. So after you've installed the bearing, just put the seal right back on top, and then next we're going to move on to the actual stem. So now we slide the bottom of the triple clamp up, make sure that we've replaced the seal down all the way, and then next we're going to install the top of the triple clamp. So after we put the top triple clamp on, we're not going to line it up and set everything yet. We're just going to install the top nut, kind of making sure everything seats correctly. So after we get the top cap threaded all the way, just hand tight, what we're going to do is we're going to reinstall the handlebars and headlight. So next we're going to install the right stanchion and bumper stop. So after we get the left stanchion and the bumper installed, what we're going to do is just tighten the bottom and then move on to the next stanchion. All right, so now that we've got the stanchions aligned along with the top triple, now we just take a torque wrench, and this is a 24 millimeter socket, and we're gonna torque it to 20 Newton meters. Okay, so after we have torqued the top bolt to 20 Newton meters, we're gonna torque each one of these pinch bolts to 11 Newton meters. Okay, so next we're gonna install the number plate. So it is wider bars, so they're gonna have to stretch a little bit, but just take some zip ties, re-zip tie them, make sure everything's routed correctly, and then after that, we'll move on to the wheels. Okay, so I like to start with the middle and then move on to the sides. It's just a bit of blue Loctite that comes in the kit. All right, so for the brake caliper, you either have the 240 or 220 millimeter rotor. I have a 220, and then it gives you the up arrow, and then we're just gonna set it in, and it's offset, and it's gonna bolt in just like that. So we always wanna apply thread locker to these bolts for our brakes, just to make sure that we get everything nice and secure. So we're bolting into the offset first. And then these bolts are T25s, not hexes. We're just going to tighten them down with Loctite on them. Make sure that the up arrow is pointed up. And we're just going to leave these loose for whenever we do the centering of our caliper on the rotor. So after we have the brake on loosely alongside the brake line routed, we can zip tie it, snip it, and then we can move on to the wheel and the axle. Since this is our first time installing the axle, we're going to put a thin layer of grease on the axle. Just to make sure everything After we put the thin layer of grease on the axle, what I like to do is I also like to put a thin layer of grease on the back of the wheel spacers just so they stick better. After we apply the thin layer of grease to the wheel spacers, we can install them on the wheels and then we can move it over onto the caliper. So if they fall off, that's not that big of a deal. Our main goal is just to have them stay on while we install the axle. It's going to be a tight fit since it's the first time. Get the other one on. Alright, so after we get the axle on and everything lined up, what we can do is we can take two 19s. Go ahead and make sure the axle is kind of centered before you start this. And start tightening. So after you get both 19s and tighten them down, so what you're going to do is you're just going to tighten the pinch bolts one side, go to the other. Keep doing this for both sides. Then we'll move on to the brakes. All right, so what we're going to do for the front brake is we're going to spin the wheel, and then we're going to grab the front brake. Then we're going to spin the wheel, grab the front brake, spin the wheel, grab the front brake, hold tight. Then we're going to tighten it up. All right, so the next things we're going to work on are going to be your triangle, your linkage, and then your rear shock. So I got the RFLoXa RAB53 RV with a 550-pound spring. The other thing I got was the Talaria Boys rear linkage with the grease fittings. And then I got the Talaria Boys triangle. So first we're going to start by removing the top shock bolt. Then we're going to move on to the linkage to swing arm bolt. And then after that we're going to do the triangle to the linkage bolt. And then it should just all come out. First we're going to start with the top shock bolt. It is going to be 13mm and a 6mm on the other side. And then along with the bottom shock bolt, same thing is happening there. Getting the top shock bolt off is going to require you to set the back wheel on the ground and bounce the bike a little bit while pulling the bolt out. So after you get the top bolt off, what you're going to do is you're going to take a 15mm socket and then a 8mm hex. Then you're going to get the linkage bolt off. So as you can see right here, it's at a little bit of an angle whenever I put it onto the bolt. So what you're going to do is you're just going to break it loose, and then you're going to take the Allen key and start rotating it off. So after you get the linkage bolt off and you slide it forward, this should just pop off freely, and you should be able to take your rear shock out just like that. So after you get the linkage and shock out, what you're going to do is you're going to take a 13mm, small enough to fit in between the kickstand and the bolt, and then you're going to take a 6mm socket and then take it off. Same thing as before. What we're going to do is we're going to take a 6 and a 13, and then we're just going to take off the triangle and linkage bolt. And then after that, we're going to translate them over to the new linkage. After we have put the linkage together, which is the long side and the tiny side, that way we have access to the fittings. We're going to grease the fittings, do a little test fitment, make sure everything works, and then bolt them together, starting with the linkage to triangle bolt. So after you get the linkage and triangle on there, you're going to notice that the rear wheel is hitting. If you're running an 18-inch wheel, you're just going to lift up on it, and it should be able to clear. Okay, so to get the rear shock on, you're going to have to remove the rear linkage bolt again, just like we did the first time around. The first time was for fitment, just to make sure that it lines up. And then now we place the bolt in. We're going to work on the top, and then we're going to replace this bolt. So after we get the top bolt installed, the shock installed, the linkage installed, and then the triangle installed, we're going to set it on the ground, tighten everything up, and then proceed to torquing it. After we set it on the ground and get everything tightened down, what we're going to do is we're going to tighten everything down to 38 foot-pounds and then adjust the sag to your own preference along with the tuning. So I took the bike on a ride about 3 weeks later. The front forks really go over bumps easier. I love the 2118 setup. I would like different wheels on there, but it's a hard ask. And then everything in the rear just feels super planted. My little gripe about the RFLoXa rear shock is that it does make a squeak sound for the first couple rides, but the front and rear shock really just handled jumps well. The bag fell off right here, so it was a little wobbly, but here I am just eating up some roots and doing a hill climb, and I took about 4 hours on these trails, and they're really fun. Just really enjoying life with these shocks, and I would appreciate it if you guys left a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.